To join us right now, former Republican Communications Director Tara Setmayer. She is the co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project. Her Substack is Uncompromised with Tara Setmayer. And also with us, someone who is also very certain, is MSNBC political analyst Basil Smikle. He is a professor of practice at Columbia University.
Well, Basil and Tara, let's talk a little bit about this incoherent capitulation, because it reflects the dynamic of what we've seen from the very beginning of this administration, not just in terms of things like tariffs, but the operationalizing of DOGE and so forth. The reality still is in this moment with Caroline Leavitt regarding the art of the deal. Let's listen to the White House press secretary from Wednesday.
Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets.
What the hell is she talking about? I mean, does she not know that China and Japan and other nations are creating their own little economic axes without the U.S. right now? Explain to me, Basil, if you can, this notion that somehow this art of the deal is working.
There's no evidence that it's working. You can't govern with stream of consciousness engagement. That doesn't work. You know, and I heard Bill Clinton say this a number of years ago, that the United States is 4 to 5% of the world's population. So we have to play nice with our partners around the globe. And as you said, and we talked about this before, what China has been doing internationally has been, you know, when you look at it, you know, building ports in places in Africa and in the Caribbean, they've expanded their economy significantly. So this sort of protectionist approach that the president is thinking or trying to promote that he has, I definitely think, you know, hurts American workers. And let's be clear. And you're right at in the ways that you talked about this at the top, that these exceptions that he's made for these big companies, yes, it may make your iPhone a little cheaper, but the reality is that there are a lot of other products that come into this country from China, for example. So you may get a cheaper phone from Apple or some other company, but when you go to the Dollar Tree store, you know, in your neighborhood, all of these other areas, the Walmarts of the world, Walmarts that are some of the biggest employers in some communities. When you go to those stores, all of those products are going to be more expensive. Yep. And there's a little irony here, just very quickly. The CEO of BlackRock was at the Economic Club at New York and indicated that a lot of the companies he's engaged with are talking recession. It was at that same Economic Club of New York, if you remember during the campaign, that Trump had that incoherent answer about the cost of childcare. So any business leader that ever heard him talk about the economy and his plan could tell you a mile away that he didn't know what he was talking about and that there really was no plan. So this shouldn't really come as a surprise to them. But clearly, it's going to be a surprise to a lot of people who supported him.
There was no plan, Tara. This was all totally foreseeable. Anyone who actually would have walked through these numbers, walked through what manufacturing looks like in the United States, the degree to which we rely on things that are manufactured in China, could have anticipated this. And yet what it actually took were stocks plunging. I want to read you this from CNBC. In the days since Trump's tariff announcement, Apple lost over $640 billion, billion with a B, in market value. CNBC previously reported the cost of an iPhone under Trump's tariff plan could have ballooned to as high as $3,500 under some estimates. Again, Tara, you and I have been in the rooms where these decisions are made. Someone would ordinarily put those numbers in front of you and say, are you willing to take this risk? He had to send the market into a spiral in order to understand this.
You know, this is, to Michael's point, and I bring it up all the time, where so many people are putting their economic fates in the hands of a man who bankrupted casinos. I mean, he clearly has no idea how to run an economy. And the American economy is about to be the next business that he bankrupts. And people are waking up and realizing this. that he has this distorted, perverted view on economics. And I think there's a certain aspect of the tariff power that he has that he gets off on. He likes the idea that he can wield this around and be a bully to our allies and to the world. And in his twisted mind, this power is somehow worth bankrupting businesses, wiping out people's retirement savings, wiping out people's ability to access capital for their businesses, people losing jobs. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about anyone who this hurts, except for his billionaire buddies and his own bottom line. I mean, back in 2012, Donald Trump is talking about how he loves when there's a bad economy. When the economy's bad, I can buy things more cheaply. So, I mean, this is all we need to look underneath about who's benefiting from this. And it sure as hell isn't the average American, because it's the billionaire tech bros and all these other people who, Marjorie Taylor Greene selling off stocks and buying things, and, what's going on with the insider trading, like the market manipulation. There's a bigger thing at play here. And playing chicken with China is a losing battle. This country relies, unfortunately, since permanent normal trade relations in 2000, relies heavily on China. Our economies are intertwined. Are there issues that we could do to try to work around that and get better deals? Yes, but it was also called the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership that Donald Trump blew up in 2017. If we had moved forward with that, we wouldn't be here now either. So this is all very a very dangerous game that Donald Trump is playing here that is going to cost the American people a lot. And rule number one in politics is you don't mess with people's money.
We could do a whole show, frankly, on the trade agreements and TPP. Y'all know I used to, I'm kind of like Michael. I had all these former jobs. I used to work for the trade folks, but the progressive global trade people, and they did not see TPP the same way. But that's the beauty of these alliances sometimes that come together around what free trade and trade agreements should look like, how we should be negotiating to protect the American enterprises that do still exist and are viable in this country. But all of that goes out the window because this man has no strategy. We do not currently have this high-level economic conversation that we are having on this show happening in the halls of the White House and the highest levels of the United States government. What we currently have is, I don't know what this is, Basil. I'm unsure. But I do know that it's the people that are going to pay the price. And I'm thinking of the folks who are restaurant owners that still have to, get their shipments and their food from elsewhere. You can't stockpile,
bananas.
You can't stockpile bananas and put them in the freezer. Yes, they already have small margins. I'm thinking about the workers that work at those restaurants. I'm thinking about the folks that operate the mom and pop convenience stores. Like, this is really going to hit folks hard. So my question is, what do the people do, Basil? Because while Donald Trump is playing games and, playing checkers, while I guess Howard Lutnick and them think he's playing chess, the people are suffering.
Yeah, and let me just add a quick layer to that, because there's an argument that some have made, which I think is flawed, but there's an argument that some have made to say that these tariffs that focus the economy, the American economy, actually improve innovation. I think that's a flawed argument, but I also think that the Trump policy of cutting off funding for people that actually do research, how does that help you with innovation? So on the one hand, you're causing prices to go up. On the other hand, you're stifling the kind of activity that would help create innovation and actually potentially bring prices down. I don't understand that logic. So I do think, directly to your question, I think what folks need to do is start it, and you have seen it already, is go to their elected officials, particularly in the Senate, and say, what the hell are you all doing? Somebody's got to stand up for us. And that's where I think Democrats actually do have an opportunity, because the messaging that is available to Democrats right now, in a way you couldn't have even planned for. That's why this is such an unforced error from the Trump administration.
It's a huge opportunity. It's a huge opportunity to point out that Donald Trump is not for you, he's for them. Yep. And those them is the billionaires, his people himself. They're lining their pockets, and so is he. And this is, and that includes MAGA. Like MAGA folks, MAGA business owner, MAGA diner owner, MAGA furniture store owner.
Oh, yeah,
MAGA
because
farmer,
the tariffs don't
right?
care who you voted for in the last election.
Exactly.
They will affect you either way.